Hello Pathfinders! Welcome back to Critical Pathfinder, where we blend professional frameworks with real-life experiences to help you navigate your UK journey. I still remember my first month in the UK back in 2014, standing in Tesco, completely baffled by why this small basket of groceries cost nearly £50. I've converted it to pesos in my head coming from the Philippines and nearly dropped everything right there in the aisle. But here's what I've learned after 11 years in the UK, raising 2 children and managing both personal and corporate budgets. Financial success here isn't about how much money you have, it's about understanding the systems and making strategic decisions. What if I told you that with the right strategy, you could not just survive but actually thrive financially as an international student in the UK? That's exactly what we're covering today in part 1 of our Student Budget Mastery series. Start by understanding the UK's cost landscape. This varies dramatically depending on where you study. London and the Southeast are typically 30 to 40% more expensive than cities in the North or Midlands. For example, an average student accommodation in London might cost you $220 to $280 per week. That's in pounds. While in cities like Manchester or Leeds, you might pay £130 to £180. Let me break down the typical monthly expenses for a student. Now, there's definitely 3 horizons you'll need to acknowledge in your financial adaptation. The first horizon is your current financial mindset from your home country. That's where you're still converting currency and comparing everything to costs at your home country. Then you'll get to the second horizon, which is the transition period where you're adapting to UK costs. Still comparing, but probably not converting as much. You're starting to get a sense of how much things cost relative to other things locally. And then come the third horizon, which is your future state, so to speak. Your financial comfort in the UK system now kicks in. It's that time you spend £3.50 for coffee at the station, let's say, and not bat an eyelid. Or spend almost £100 a day in childcare, which is basically normal. So then you've integrated. The key is recognizing that financial shock is normal, but with planning, you'll move through this transition successfully. Now, accommodation will be your biggest expense, so let's tackle this first. University halls offer convenience and community, but aren't always the most economical option. In your first year, they provide valuable transition support, but from second year onwards, private housing often offers better value. I guess I was lucky because my student accommodation allowed me to stay in a studio apartment as I was with my husband. It was very convenient, of course. Also, relatively okay in price than if we rented the studio outside the university, as it came with all utilities. So it also saved us the hassle of worrying about setting all of those up separately. However, after a few months, we decided to move to our own 1-bed flat, as my husband also already found work then. But yeah, it was convenient to stay in the university accommodation to start. When house sharing, if that's one you're considering, make sure to have clear agreements about bill splitting and cleaning responsibilities. Those are very essential. In the UK, these conversations aren't considered rude, so don't worry, they are actually expected. Also, watch out for these hidden costs. There's usually a deposit, and that's usually 4 to 6 weeks of rent upfront. There will be agency fees for some, though there are also some that have taken those out. There's going to be council tax that you'll need to look into. As a full-time student, you're likely to be exempt, but you must apply for that exemption or check from your local council. And then you have to set up your own utility, as I said. Generally, the further from the city center or campus you are, the lower your rent will be. But always calculate the additional transportation costs before you decide, as it may just equal in the end in terms of total costs, but you may be more tired from the commute. Another thing to note, very important when you take up your own accommodation, is your TV license. You have to pay for your own TV license. And that's important because as foreigners going into the UK, that's not very well known. As long as you are watching live TV, you have to have that license, and you wouldn't want to be caught with that, especially if you have any intention of getting an indefinite leave to remain or citizenship later on, because that is you'll have pretty much a criminal record if you don't pay for that license. Now let's tackle food and grocery hacks. Food shopping in the UK follows a clear hierarchy. There's the premium level supermarkets such as Waitrose, M&S Food, for example. The mid-range ones would be the Tesco's, Sainsbury, Morrisons. And then you have the budget ones, which are Aldi, Lidl, and Asda. You can also download apps like Too Good To Go for discounted food. To be honest, I still use this even when I was already working, but always read the reviews, as sometimes they put very low value stuff in there as well. And then always get loyalty cards. Tesco Club Card, for example, or Sainsbury's Nectar can save you significant money over time. As you use them, you'll be sent vouchers, usually in £5, to use on your next purchases. So that's effectively free money. Now, another tip for groceries, which I don't know, maybe for others are quite obvious, but certainly for us, we got confused about offers such as 3 for 2 versus offers such as 3 for £2. Make sure that you check that whether it has a pound or not, because 3 for 2 means that you're getting 3 items for the price of 2, usually the 2 most expensive ones, and then you get the 3rd item for free, versus 3 for £2, where you're paying £2 for the 3 items. So just something to consider. If you're willing to buy in bulk, then you get that rate. So for groceries, when I first arrived, I was spending around £30 a week on groceries for my husband and I. We are able to save though by shopping at markets in the last hour before closing for up to 70% discount. We also batch cook dishes so that we stretch the expensive proteins. And there's always things in the grocery that sells yellow sticker items, we call them. And we look through those items first. And unlike, I guess, back home where these would usually be those items that will expire within a day, these are actually still good items, but just that they want, I guess the supermarket wants to move inventory quicker or encourage customers to test the products. It's a few, pence here or there, but like Tesco says, every little helps. Now remember, I did mention about the hierarchy of groceries when it comes to pricing, but it's not to say that all of the items in the high-priced groceries are always more expensive than the ones that are in the mid or the low tier ones. Always check, because sometimes even those in the higher range offer cheaper rates for some items, depending on sales that they have going on or other things. There are comparison websites that you can use as well if you want to check, or depending on your proximity perhaps to the grocery closest to you, those are different, other considerations that you may have just on choosing where to go. So the same change model we usually use in corporate settings applies here, right? So first you have your awareness, you recognize UK food costs are different. Then you have this desire, so you want to commit to adapting to your food budget, right? Then you need your knowledge, so you learn where to shop economically, and you develop your ability, you develop your meal planning skills, and then you have reinforcement in the end, where you track your savings to stay motivated. Now make sure you get the student cards as well, such as the NUS card. I remember getting loads of discounts back then on a variety of things, from gadgets to groceries or everyday essentials really. I remember having a discount in Superdrug for being a student, and we'd buy a lot of non-expiring consumables like shampoos when they have a big promotion, and store them to save on money. In fact, before I ended my studies, we hoarded on these items and then just kept them. So just another tip for you to save on money. Now I want to tackle transportation costs next. This vary widely across the UK really. Here's how to navigate it. First, get a 16 to 25 rail card even if you're older. As an international student, you should qualify, but obviously check the latest information in this. This should save you a third of the rail fares. Rail fares do get quite expensive, so you also need to check your proximity to your university, for example, or wherever you're going, to check whether it makes more sense for you to get a slightly more expensive accommodation but closer to save you the commute, versus staying further away for cheaper price, but then the transportation costs will be higher. So just check that and compare. There's also other rail cards that you can get that can give you discounts. So for example, if you have flatmates or if you're a couple, there's a 2 together rail card which also gives you discounts as long as you travel together. And also for families, you get that kind of card as well. So just check what discount card may be appropriate or for you to qualify in. For local travel, research whether a term pass or an annual bus ticket makes sense as well. In many cities, student discounts make these very economical, so do check that out as well. In terms of other types of transportation, many UK cities have also cycling infrastructure. Universities often have bike loans or discount purchase schemes. A one-time £100 to £200 investment for a bicycle, for example, can save you thousands of transport costs, so do also weigh up your other options. For trips, home or holidays, the booking sweet spot is usually 10 to 12 weeks in advance. So set fare alerts on, let's say, Skyscanner or Trainline to help you with your planning. And as much as possible, avoid using taxis. In most UK cities anyway, the public transportation network is comprehensive enough that with proper planning, you rarely need them and you'll save a lot. Okay, so we've covered the foundations of UK student budgeting in this first part: understanding regional costs, finding affordable accommodation, grocery shopping strategies, and transportation planning. In part 2, we'll dive into managing utilities, creating your UK-specific budget, finding income opportunities, and building your emergency fund. If you found this helpful, please hit that like button and subscribe for part 2 coming next week. And remember, every financial challenge is just another critical path to navigate. See you in the next episode. Bye!